So to review, ladies and gentlemen, this is Should I Flush That? Part 3, and we left off on slide 22, so I figured we'd pick up here. And diffusion is a really important concept, so I figured I'd spend a little longer, just show you show you one video from YouTube, hopefully it plays well. And then also one quick simulation that just shows diffusion, which is the movement from high concentration to low concentration. That means anytime something diffuses, it's moving from a high concentration to where it's less common or a low concentration. So you have a bunch of solutes together here. They naturally will spread out and get further and further apart so that the concentration of the solutes is reduced. Let's do the first video. Let's see how this does. Let's check it out. Alright, just to make sense of this video, I paused it, right? So what we have here is crystals of sugar that are being added to the solvent. So you have the solute crystals here of sugar. So it's the solute, and it gets added to the solvent, the water. Now, diffusion is going to happen. As soon as the crystals break up, they start spreading out. So the crystal is a highly concentrated sugar. But as soon as it dissolves and starts spreading out, it's diffusing. It's moving further and further from its high concentration. So as the sugar little particles here, like this one right here, this little clear one, as they spread out from one another, they're actually moving into a lower concentration. So everything that ever dissolves in a fluid is really just experiencing diffusion. So there you go. Once again, as you see the crystals of sugar, the little sugar crystals, they really are at a high concentration at this point. But as soon as they drop in, they spread out. So they go from a high concentration, and when they spread out or dissolve into the water here, they're really going through diffusion. It shows it going through diffusion again, where the crystals break down, dissolve, and move from high to low concentration, where they spread out into the Perfect. Diffusion in another representation. So we have a cell here. Now these green particles are oxygen. The concentration of oxygen outside of the cell is higher. So if things diffuse, they'll move from a high concentration on the outside, and they will move internally. And we should end up with more oxygen molecules inside the cell, because things naturally move from a high concentration, where there's lots of this oxygen solute, to where it's less common. Because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 internally, and there's probably 30 or more on the outside. So there's only 4 on the inside and probably more than 30 on the outside. Let's see if things move from high concentration to low. So as we posit here, have we increased the number of oxygen solutes inside the cell? It originally was 4. Have the concentration diffused into the cell? Has it increased? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's about 12 on the inside. So it's increased by 8 solutes of oxygen. That means that the particles did in fact move from a higher concentration outside to a low concentration in. So oxygen diffused into the cell from a high to a low concentration. At this point, I hope you're feeling a little bit better about the concept of diffusion, the concept of things dissolve like solutes, and the idea of concentration, which is where there's more solutes, it's more concentrated. And then with diffusion, we see that areas with higher concentration move to a lower concentration like the inside here. And that's what causes solutes to flow in a certain direction. They move from high to low. It's kind of the opposite in this example. In this example, we have a higher concentration on the inside and a lower concentration of oxygen on the outside. And let's play it. Let's see if the oxygen goes from high on the inside to low on the outside. Now, while I did not count the number of oxygen solute on the inside, it does appear that it has less. That they've naturally spread out. So it started as a high concentration on the inside and has now moved outward. So things always move from a high concentration to low if they obey the rules or kind of laws of diffusion. So why do we talk about diffusion? Well, it's the idea that if there's things dissolved in the water and they're dissolved at a high concentration, they're naturally going to start moving to a lower concentration. If there's a high concentration of dissolved plastic chemicals in the water and you don't have any of it in your body, it's going to naturally potentially try to move from the high concentration of plastic pollutants in the water to where it's a low concentration inside you. The plastic particles and the pollution will try to diffuse into your body if your cells can't prevent it. Now your cells have the membrane, and hopefully they can prevent that from happening, but if they can't, they're going to go inside the body. They're going to enter. Same with all these other things. Pesticides and chemicals, the higher concentration will try to move into the area of lower concentration in your body if they can. So again, I know I'm always trying to scare y'all and get you to care about the environment and what's going on there, but tales of caution. We will eventually watch this video about pharmaceuticals in the water. People are constantly flushing it down the toilet. We end up with our water with a higher concentration of pharmaceutical drugs, which potentially will diffuse into your body because, again, they're moving from a higher concentration in the water to a lower concentration in your body. And the cells are the only thing that can protect you from that happening. So we'll study that, and we'll also study the pesticide factor. At this point, we already know that DDT happens, and we know that DDT is a pesticide, and it can easily get into organisms. So as soon as we cranked up the DDT levels here, they diffused into the organisms. The organisms had a low concentration of DDT, or none, and the water around them had a high concentration of DDT, so the DDT naturally flowed into them. And you can see every one of these organisms, from phytoplankton all the way to the pelicans, contain a certain concentration of the DDT pesticide. So their cells were not able to prevent the DDT from entering. Their cell membranes transported them into the bodies. Here's slide 26. Slide 26 says that we basically exchange solutes and chemicals with the environment. And cells receive and lose solutes or nutrients or waste based on forces the cells can't fully control, and that's diffusion. So the cell, if it has tons of oxygen inside the cell, it may lose some of it, even if it could use it, just because the high concentration of oxygen in the cell naturally will diffuse out of the cell to where it's lower. So this often works to a cell's advantage and what keeps us alive. Diffusion works for living organisms. But it can also work against us, just as in the example with the DDT. It says, well, first of all, make sure you write this as the definition, this comment. And then let's look at the notebook challenge. So in your notebook it says, for slide 26, it says, explain how the image demonstrates diffusion. So look at these particles. Where are they moving? Where are they going? Are they moving to areas with a lower concentration or higher? Remember, diffusion is moving from low or from high to low. So are these particles demonstrating diffusion or not? Explain. All right, so this is slide 30. Now slide 30 is an interesting situation. It's basically we focus on kidneys, and the kidneys help filter blood. Kidneys basically support your blood being the right, containing the right amount of solutes. It filters out toxins, and then you urinate it out. So the kidney filters the blood, and then whatever it filters out goes into your urine so you can excrete it or get rid of it. So let's look at the title. It says kidneys help filter blood so cells don't suffer negative effects of toxins. Now in this example, the toxin is alcohol. So we got some Tito's vodka right here, and this guy is being tested for drunk driving. So he's been pulled over, and the officer's having them walk the line. If this person is drunk, they would have this situation right here, where in their blood they would contain large amounts of the the alcohol molecule. If there's a lot of alcohol in the blood, then that person is driving under the influence. They'll fail their DUI. If the blood has less alcohol, they would have a lower concentration of alcohol in the blood, and they would pass their sobriety test and they could go on their way. So the question is, how can the kidneys help filter out the alcohol or the toxin so that someone could pass their sobriety test? A little simulation. Let's pretend that this is the blood and you have your kidneys helping to filter out the waste. Now the waste is little pink kind of circles, right? So there's some kind of solute, waste solute. Let's pretend it's alcohol. Now, if I hit run, we're going to see, do the waste or the alcohol molecules, do they exit into the urine or not? Let's see how the kidney, which it would be this barrier that filters, let's see if this kidney filter here can help get the waste alcohol molecules out of the blood and into the urine. So you can see up to this point, now we don't want to take too long, but basically the kidney was able to filter out 4 of the alcohol molecules or solute. It was able to get rid of it into the urine. At this point, this person has less, because the kidney filtered it out, the blood has less alcohol than it started with. It didn't lose a lot because when things move from high concentration to low, it can happen randomly and it happens slow. So is the person less drunk? Yes. Do they have a lot of alcohol in their blood? Yes. They're probably going to fail their DUI, and there's going to be a lot of legal consequences to that. But you can see that the kidney system, the filtering it does allow for diffusion. So these particles of alcohol did diffuse from high concentration to low concentration into the urine, and then your body hopefully can urinate it out. This question really is just a review. So for slide 30 in your notebook, you should write the answer you choose, which is for alcohol to move from blood to the kidneys or blood to urine. If that happens, which one of these explains it? That the alcohol moves from high to low concentration, or that alcohol moves from low to high? In the example, in the simulation, what did it do? Did the alcohol move from high to low, or did it move from low to high? And then you have your answer. Just use your memory and rewind the video if you need to. Alright, slide 31 is all about osmosis. This one will be the last slides we do, I think. And in osmosis is a special word for the diffusion of water only. So it's a vocab word to describe just how water only diffuses. So all particles diffuse, but there's a special name given for when water does it, and it's called osmosis. And it's when water moves towards an area with the highest solute concentration. Here's an example. Here's water right here, and it moves naturally to the area with the highest solute concentration. Water will always do this. In this example, again, you have a bunch of water molecules with the hollow blue circles. And the little arrow here shows that they're moving to this area that has the sugar solutes. They will always do that. Water will always naturally move to an area with a higher solute concentration. If something's dissolved, it'll move towards it faster. Which basically means water moves from high to low concentration. It's at a really high concentration here, and it moves to a really low concentration here. It's a lower concentration of water where all the solutes are. So that's why it does it. It says, what's the solute in A? So A is, boom, it's labeled right here. The green particles are sucrose. It says, which way will water flow in B? So we already talked about it. Water goes from high concentration to low, where it moves from a low solute concentration to the higher solute concentration. It moves to where it's high solutes. We'll wrap it up there, and we'll talk more in the next video. Good luck. Have a great day, folks.